very difficult to gain weight while overeating dietary protein, versus if you are eating excess calories from fats or carbohydrates. And in part, this may be due to the nitrogen containing compound of the amino acids, the impact protein has on muscle protein synthesis. It is, depending on how you design your diet, can activate metabolic machinery, like I've mentioned in the past, muscle protein synthesis, which again, these are all things that we will discuss in detail later. But from a health standpoint of just designing a diet, let's agree that we're going to shoot for around 1 gram per pound ideal body weight. Now, you could go lower. You could go to 0.7 grams per pound if you like, or up to 1.0 grams per pound ideal body weight. Now, please keep in mind, we are thinking about dietary protein, and you are in your mind, you know, and you have calculated what your total calorie goal should be. If you are talking about maintenance, if you are talking about weight loss, if you are talking about weight gain. Bottom line is 0.7 to 1.0 grams per pound body weight. Now let's think about carbohydrates. Poor carbohydrates, they do get quite a bad rap. And the first thing that you want to think about is your source of carbohydrates. I definitely prefer fruits and vegetables and some complex sources of carbohydrates, whether it's potatoes, that would be a starch. How are you going to design a diet that includes these carbohydrates? A great starting strategy, depending on your calorie needs and what you are aiming to achieve, is potentially a 1-to-1 ratio of balanced protein to carbohydrates. Super easy. Everybody can do it. If you are eating 120 grams of protein, you could easily get in 120 grams of carbohydrates. The way that you dose it and the timing, I do think, is of importance. And please remember, I am making generalizations. I talk a lot more about this in my book, Forever Strong, which is coming out October 17th. But for baseline principles, a 1-to-1 balance of protein to carbohydrates can be very workable for people. For example, if your breakfast meal is 30 grams of dietary protein, I have no problem with you having 30 grams of carbohydrates at that meal, a 1-to-1 ratio, so forth and so on. Now, the average American consumes 300 grams of carbohydrates. In addition, the average American is also sedentary. This is not ideal. If you are going to increase your total carbohydrates, then this should be done around exercise. Increasing dietary carbohydrates should be done around exercise. Another really key component to how I think about carbohydrates, I think about them as it relates to dosing per meal. I do not suggest going above 40 to max 50 grams of carbohydrates if you are not exercising. The reason is this can generate a more robust insulin response, which could subsequently lower your blood sugar. So again, protein goal, 0.7 to 1 gram per pound. Carbohydrates really determine the RDA is 130 grams. We could go up or below this depending on your activity, depending on your metabolic health. But if you are listening to this, you are going to start with a 1-to-1 protein to carbohydrate ratio. And then the remainder of your calories can come from fat. And this could be calculated. Again, you have to understand where your total calorie goals are, but this could be 0.32 to 1 gram per pound of your calories dedicated to fat. Personally, I think the fat should come from polyunsaturated fat. I will tell you that the majority of fat in beef is actually monounsaturated. So essentially, it's like olive oil, which is very interesting because of the information out there on the chaos in the chaos making machine. We often don't think about that. But what I've now provided you with is a framework for thinking about your total calorie target, your macronutrient distribution. Please understand, the lower your calories, the higher your protein should be.